There have been solemn commemorations across Ukraine on the 4th anniversary of Russia's full-scale invasion of the country. EU leaders joined President Volodymyr Zelensky in the capital Kyiv, while other leaders, including the Taoiseach, took part in a meeting of the Coalition of the Willing, hosted by the French President. Mr. Zelensky called on US President Trump to visit Ukraine and to stay on their side. Russia says it has not yet met its war aims. The invasion has now settled into a grinding war of attrition, with the loss of hundreds of thousands of lives, but very little territorial gains or losses on either side. Much of Russia's initial gains were wiped out by Ukrainian counteroffensives in 2022. 4 years into the war, Moscow now occupies slightly more than 19% of Ukraine, the majority acquired during the first weeks of the conflict.
Russia launched its invasion across multiple axes in the early hours of the morning, having spent months denying there was any intention to attack. Vladimir Putin said it was a special military operation designed, as he put it, to denazify Ukraine, a democracy whose president is Jewish. 4 years later, Russia only controls 1/5 of the country. Mr. Putin has sacrificed several 100,000 Russians for incremental battlefield gains. But the toll on Ukraine has been enormous. At the St. Sophia Cathedral in Kyiv, EU leaders joined the Ukrainian president for a prayer service, with priests of various denominations and military chaplains reflecting on the loss of around 15,000 civilians and countless soldiers. Leaders then went to Maidan Square and the growing thicket of tributes to fallen troops. Two Irish women who've been providing humanitarian support for the past decade reflected on the anniversary.
The young people that have given their lives here or lost their lives here for a war they didn't ask for an invasion they didn't want, they still talk about peace. But I don't think the other side are talking about peace yet.
It's every single day these people have to live through horrific conditions. Even here in this lovely city, Kyiv, minus 24 last week. No heating, no water. Up at the top of the 24-storey building, old people, how do you get up and down?
President Zelensky is facing a fresh crisis after Hungary's Viktor Orban vetoed a €90 billion EU loan, which he had agreed to back in December.
The loan was agreed by 27 heads of state and government in the European Council. They have given their word. This word cannot be broken. So we will deliver on the loan, one way or the other.
At a cemetery in Lviv overflowing with war dead, Ukrainians reflect on a sacrifice that seems without end and through which they struggle to find meaning.
I believe none of these was for nothing. The flower of our nation did not fall for nothing. They fell for Ukraine, which will be ours. Truth will be on our side, and everything will be as it once was.
Russia's war against Ukraine has now entered its 5th year.
And Tony joins us now from Kyiv. Tony, throughout the day, Ukraine's resilience has been remarked upon. But what's your sense there on the ground of how much more this country can take?
Well, Sharon, I think it's been said that Ukrainians are suffering from exhaustion but not desperation. And clearly, after 4 years of war, people are desperate for an end to the war and for peace. Now, looking at a survey in December, 72% of Ukrainians said they would accept a peace agreement if it meant freezing the conflict along the current contact lines. 78% said they would reject a peace agreement if it meant Ukraine unilaterally withdrawing from the Donbass. So you can see that there is still an appetite to keep going. And I think when you look back at some of the accounts of the immediate aftermath of the invasion, there was genuine surprise in the West at how resilient Ukrainians were and how determined they were to resist, especially since the Ukrainian army essentially had melted away in 2014 when Russia invaded Crimea. There was a complete restructuring of the Ukrainian military. There were volunteer groups devolved to the local level, and there was real determination to resist the Russian invasion across society. And with every passing year, that determination increases. the bigger the sacrifice you make, the less likely you are to want to capitulate and render a situation that sacrifice is in vain. And indeed, that survey from September showed that 63% of Ukrainians were determined to endure the war so long as it took.
Europe editor Tony Connolly from the Ukrainian capital, Kyiv. Thank you. Well, staying with that, we are joined now from Kyiv by Volodymyr Zelensky, a member of Ukraine's parliament. Thank you for speaking to us on the 6-1 News this evening. In the past 4 years since Russia launched its full-scale invasion, the death, the destruction, it hasn't stopped in your country. How have the people there, some who've gone from being civilians to soldiers, how have they changed?
It changed a lot. That's why for those refugees who left Ukraine, it would be hard even one day to be back, because they won't be the same. The state is not the same. We are not here the same. And despite we are so tired, we are really exhausted. No one is speaking about giving up the country, our lives. We all understand that we have to survive, and the only solution to survive, that's to fight. Actually, that's what our armed forces are doing. Civilians who are still trying to live near the front line and not giving up their houses and homes. Probably that's the only one chance for us, not only to survive as a people, but as a nation and as the country on political map, state map. And I think this differences in between 4 years ago and now, that's a huge one, is in being really very careful with the plans and with the Russian words. That's why we're always saying to our Baltic states, Poland, to all Eastern European countries, be careful of what they are saying. I mean, Russians, they are saying about their plans on attacking or their possibility to attack them. I remember clearly the mood before the full-scale invasion, how literally we have doubts on the full-scale invasion and how it happened, turning our lives in really 180 degrees vice versa.
A fourth round of peace talks are due to get underway, and we know President Zelensky has said he will do everything to bring about peace. But there is still a willingness, from what I gather, from what you're saying, to fight on. What would it take to bring peace about? Are Ukrainians willing to give up any territory for peace?
That's a question about the price for this peace. And from the eastern and from the south of Ukraine to the west, there is no any questions and issues and discussions about the peace. People really want it. But the point is, and the price is, that just to withdraw Ukrainian troops from the Donetsk region, and that's one of the biggest and the most painful political issue to discuss during all these negotiations. Moreover, plus Zaporizhzhia power plant station in Enerhodar, who will control and who will benefit from owning it and controlling it. But first of all, that's about territories, sovereignty. And once ex-Prime Minister of UK, he was right. Despite Russia is going to make us a vassal state, but they cannot decide who will own and who will withdraw the troops, who will send the troops to Ukraine. That's about our sovereignty, and I don't know whether who will be ready from the Ukrainian side, government, president, parliament, or even the nation, despite we are really against the referendum, to say that, okay, we will give you the Donetsk region and that's the war will be over. But that's the question. This war for 12 plus years was what about? That's all about the people and territories.
And do you believe that the EU and the US is doing enough to bring about peace or to help Ukraine win this war?
Unfortunately, EU is not the player in this game. That's about the US, and you see how US is acting, trying to have the again and again the good trade with Russia. And I don't think that US is now playing on Ukrainian side, unfortunately. We are careful with that. We are trying to rely on them. Of course, that's the biggest partner to sell actually the crucial and crucial military support, but at the same time, in these political negotiations, what we see, that's not the thing we really hope for.
Do you believe we'll be having a similar conversation to this in a year's time?
Unfortunately, what we see, that's the tactical steps. They're trying, all sides trying, to find the gray zones, to find the painful issues, political issues. And sometimes we see the pressing on Ukraine to withdraw Ukrainian troops from the Donetsk region or to give up the Donetsk region. But at this very moment, only Ukrainian nation and society, not even the president, will decide whether they will be ready to withdraw Ukrainian troops from the land where so many guys and our friends now are buried and who paid the price with their lives for this sovereignty and the state.
Volodymyr Zelensky, Member of Parliament in Ukraine, thank you for speaking to us from Kyiv this evening.
Thank you.
Well, staying with that story, and Ukrainians living in Galway have been marking the 4-year anniversary of the start of the Russian invasion. At a rally in the city, they sent messages of support to their compatriots at home and called for greater backing for Ukraine's fight against Russia.
Flying the flag 3,500 kilometres from home. Members of the Ukrainian community in the West began marking today's anniversary with a cavalcade around Galway. It's aimed to express gratitude for the welcome extended by Ireland in recent years and to draw fresh attention to the ongoing suffering in their homeland.
We have, two different feelings. We're very welcome in Galway and Ireland to care about us, and we are very upset what's happened in our homes,
Today's events were organised by Ukrainians Helping Ukrainians in Galway, a group working to assist those fleeing the conflict and finding their feet here. It's recently conducted a survey examining the experience of refugees from the Russian invasion.
We find that it's hard for them to come back to the same life because they have lost everything there. It's just left there, and there is no way come back to the same state, same feeling of safety, I think.
Latest figures from the Central Statistics Office show there are just under 6,000 Ukrainian nationals living in County Galway at present. For them, this is a day of sadness, reflection and hope.
I'm here 3 years, but only the last few months it's getting I feel good here. And you let yourself feel good because you feel guilt feeling good here.
All my friends are dying, my family is in danger every day, every night, and I experience it by myself because I'm only 8 months in Ireland and I've been in Ukraine all the time, and I know what is happening right now because all my family is there.
Pat McGrath, RTE News, Galway.